chapter.
But
And
chapter 8 and 9 बहुत boring है.
indeed, that's how it is. So, welcome to this comprehensive explanation. I have tried to, summarize it, this chapter in next 23, 24 slides. So, ESG analysis, valuation, integration, all these three together based on, of course, curricula, CFA Institute, sustainable investing program. Now, in today, world in investment specifically, ESG factors have moved from being sideline stuff to center of the investment decision making. What was once considered as a niche approach or mainly driven by value driven investors like you must be hearing about Warren Buffett, etc. Today it has become a fundamental. Okay, a fundamental component of mainstream financial analysis. A best example of Warren Buffett considering this kind of matrices was when he invested in China, right? And
BYD.
absolutely, BYD was that time when he used ESG based approach, mostly governance based approach. But later on, he also considered the environmental valuation, and that's why that battery operation became a central piece for him. And even though he knew that the major competition will come from Tesla, and rest is history, Tesla is nowhere. So throughout this discussion, I will try to examine those fundamentals as we discussed last time, which investment professionals systematically incorporates, right, in ESG considerations. Whenever they will do multiple asset analysis, uh, we will also explore quantitative and qualitative matrices or approaches to understand the challenges here, right? Challenges is which any practitioner or any investor faces when they try to use ESG as a matrix. So we'll learn those practical techniques which is mentioned in this book very clearly, and we will try to integrate these factors into valuation model. Now, by the end of this session, what my task is to look into all that learning outcomes and make sure that you should be able to describe different approaches of ESG integration, identify and assess material ESG issues, and construct scorecards, right? Scorecards to evaluate companies, interpret corporate ESG disclosures, and apply all these concepts in equity, fixed income, which is bonds mostly, real estate, and private market. All these four market, you should be able to apply these fundamentals. And this is very essential today for any investment professional seeking to understand modern portfolio theory, MPT we say, right? Or risk assessment even. Now, if you have sorry, if you have looked into the introductory part of it, you will check and you will see that they are talking about mostly, that how to do this integration. So the focus remain here is the integration part, that how to integrate. So ESG integration today represent nothing but how to use ESG factors into your investment decision making. And here, explicit exclusion could be also a style of ESG factor. So it's not that inclusion of these factors, but also exclusion, which should be systematic and explicit. And when you use them to do financial analysis, that's called ESG integration in nutshell. Now, the goal here is twofold. Simple goal. What are those? To better manage your investment risk and identify the opportunity or enhance your alpha, right? So these are the only two approaches again with ESG you try to implement in traditional financial analysis, which generally gets overlooked, right? So let's distinguish between two primary approaches here. The first approach which they talk about is qualitative approach, which focuses on observations or conclusions expressed in words, right? Golden words rather than the number. Now, when an analyst evaluates the credibility of a company, net zero commitment, he cannot bring numbers here, right? He will say that this company has targeted 2045 as a net zero target. And when an analyst evaluates the credibility of the company around it, whether they can achieve or not, they will be assessing here tone at the top. They will see what their CEO is saying, what their board of directors is saying. Are they ready to put money to achieve it by 2045? Are you with me? The management.
The capex expenditure tracking basically.
Absolutely. Are they just talking the bullshit or they are also putting some kind of muscle around it? They are conducting qualitative ESG analysis will be said whether the executive compensation is linked to ESG goal. If that is, that could be another thing, right? Matrix which can be applied, and you cannot judge by number here that how much money they put. But you can judge if they have linked ESG goals with compensation of executives, automatically this company is serious about going to net zero. So these are the things which in qualitative judgment you take into consideration. This approach relies heavily on investment judgment, investor judgment, and non quantitative factors such as corporate culture. Again, you can't quantify it. Quality of issuer reporting in debt market, you do that. What is the quality of their report? Okay. And presence of policy and commitment, which is shown on the public domain. They might be having hidden in the under the cupboard, but that will not help the company. But if they are putting those commitment, policy, procedure in front of public eye, automatically they will be more responsible around it, specifically when they talk about ESG related goal. So that's how you judge qualitative approach. For example, one of the good example I have seen in the book mentioned was technology companies which has faced shareholder proposals from investor concerning about potential negative impact of social media on the child development. Now, assessing such concern on a technology company, right, requires a qualitative judgment, which is pure, which cannot be purely numerical analysis. Can you do that numerical analysis that how company, a technology company is making sure that, or Meta, for example, Meta, right, to tomorrow decide that I do not want to engage with any minors. Of course, they have a policy around it, but still you might be knowing a lot of kids, 15-year, 14-year, are there on the Instagram. And if they implement it, then only I can judge them. So this is one of those very good example of qualitative. Now, if I am talking about quantitative, which is often called as QAESG, so anything which you can quantify in ESG analysis, they are called quantitative approach of ESG analysis. Now, it involves numerical data, obviously, but it still requires discretion here. Remember this word discretion, very important. Sometimes they twist the question with this. Always remember this point, very essential. Now, such as example could be analyst might be examining the issuer reported metrics such as carbon emission, scope 1, 2, 3, how much of tons of carbon dioxide equivalent has been emitted, employee turnover rates, that also comes into percentage, the churn rate, the percentage of independent board members, gender diversity ratio at the board or management. All this could be quantified, hence they are known as QESG analysis. Now, these matrices generally allow an investor to assess the company against their peers, against expectations, against their own stated commitment. That's how you judge it. For instance, a company that plans to achieve net zero emission by 2030 can be evaluated against their reported carbon data examining whether they are on track or they are distracted. Are you with me? If the numbers are going beyond their control, of course, they can't reach net zero. So intensity becomes very important. The line between a very fine line between qualitative and quantitative analysis is often blurry. Always remember that there is no clear cut distinction here because both looks into the similar data set, right? Often blurry, but it is like most techniques of financial analysis. It has a inherited nature of the financial analysis, which is most of the time it is little blurry, right? There is no single best approach for all investment strategy across world, and hence we need to look into role of AI, which of course is a matter of fact. You are doing a great presentation on 11th of January on future escape dialogues 2047, and I'm very keen to listen from you from PL background, and presentation is really coming well. Okay. So that looks like it means you are putting a lot of effort there, right? So now role of AI and data tools are critical here. Artificial intelligence and machine learning algorithms have transformed how investors utilize ESG data today. These technology only helps vast amount of information that would be impossible for human to process, especially the qualitative one. Can you imagine that? right? But you have an algorithm now which takes each word and calculates its weight. AI in ESG analysis solves several critical functions, including machine learning algorithm can process now massive data sets to interpret satellite trajectory, helping investor to assess the carbon footprint, identify the deforestation pattern looking from the satellite, and verify the use of proceeds from the green bond, whether this green bond money which people have raised for putting forest, is it really happening on ground or not? Can you do that? Yes, of course, through AI. Every minute report you can get. AI also
GIS
help.
data, basically.
Sorry. Yes.
GIS data,
GIS data, absolutely.
Landsat and all those.
Absolutely. And AI now helps in closing this significant data gaps. A human can sit
Mhm.
only for 8 hours, right? But this AI can observe minute by minute changes. And hence, it will indicate to you that whatever they are showing, that bond which they raised and deployment they are showing, are they matching? Are you with me? Particularly the scope 3 emissions here. The indirect emission from a company value chain, which maybe company don't fully report, AI can help you, which you are talking. That's why I said this topic you are covering anyway on 11th of January 2026 when we are recording this session. Now, researchers have demonstrated models that estimate these emissions from publicly available sources, essentially filling what companies don't disclose, right? That is the advantage here. Now, some ESG data provider use AI to quickly measure company ESG performance as well. And the risk by analyzing the incidence report, which are available from them time to time on BSE or NSE exchanges or any exchange for matter of fact. Across numerous online sources are available today. And these systems can quantify companies' incidents related to child labor, and there are triggers, right? In AI, you can fix the trigger. Those trigger through N8N can inform you on daily basis that this company has made such kind of reporting in any of the exchanges. Are you with me? So such a small or AI agent, agentic AI you can use, which Bala Vigneswar is talking on 11th of January 2026 in Future Escape 2047. He's talking about that. You can put those agents and it can pick
Mhm.
only these news from
News.
your universe, not one company, maybe 20 company you have. It
Yeah, you
will
can
only
parse the net basically, and then they will pick up the relevant news and
correct.
put it into your inbox and something.
This is the language of AI, parsing the internet, scrapping the data. Gaurang is here, Geetika is here. Wonderful. Good.
Okay,
Now,
they're there.
yeah, they are here. Now, red flag indicators are those tools which are designed to identify securities with high ESG risk, which today warrants immediate exclusion for further investigation. Are you with me? So, any red flag, and this Gaurang knows for a matter of fact, he must be seeing every day. But if you are deploying AI, this AI will pick those red flag, quantify it or qualify it and send it to you as a message that boss, this has happened there. Now you adjust your exposure to this company. And this is what in chapter 8 we will be learning. When you are looking for a portfolio, you need to adjust the weight security wise, sector wise, maybe asset wise.
Asset class ones.
Asset class, all three side you can do. For example, a company with a board lacking majority independent director. So independent director has suddenly reduced. It is a red
Mm.
flag. Gaurang, do you agree? It will be 100% a red flag. Earlier they had 30%, independent director or 50% independent. Now it is reached to 10%. Only one guy in 10. Will you not get cautious about that company or security exposure? Obviously, you will be. The investor can then either exclude this company outright or screen for compensating factors such as a specialized skill or experience that might warrant further consideration. That this one guy is very essential and he should not leave, right? Or watch list, which enables continuous monitoring for ESG risk and opportunity in real time. And this is how AI today is helping in ESG. Clear? Finally, any company which engage through direct data gathering via questionnaire, management interviews, allows investor to discuss material ESG issue and obtain information that is not publicly available. This is the advantage of engagement, right? When you know the company founders, managers, you can always send them a questionnaire, let your employee fill that, and you can start getting those nuggets there. When public disclosure is insufficient, investor might ask a company for a specific data as well. It is possible under engagement and stewardship, which we covered last time. Now, you can use predefined list of standard ESG metrics, which you want to routinely track through agentic AI or AI, which we are discussing on 11th, right? 11th January 2026. Now, if you look into challenges which ESG integration today brings, you will understand the most important one is disclosure issues. Now, despite growing interest in ESG today, everybody wants to integrate ESG in their fundamental operation, in their investment direction. Practitioners face significant hurdles that comes and complicate implementation. And the first one is the disclosure issues, which represent one of the most persistent challenges. Survey suggests that many investors view company ESG disclosure as inadequate. They are not actually reporting. Sometimes even the financial disclosure they feel is inadequate. Yeah, audit. Ask any auditor like Gaurang and he will tell you the same. Disclosure might be missing entirely, like scope 3.
Yes, sir. One of the reasons is because the companies are not preparing it. It is prepared by financial auditors who are mainly concerned with numbers, and they want to
They
prepare
don't
it as per
consider.
law, just as per
Yeah,
law.
they don't consider this as a critical aspect of the business. A very good example is scope 3 emissions.
Are you talking of what? Financial or non-financial?
Both.
Non-financial is basically checkbox only.
No, not only checkbox. Nowadays, that also matters. A lot of investment is happening through that. Okay. And by 2030, you will see that everybody is using. Now, please understand, earlier also I talked about Warren Buffett today when I started and his VYD investment. It was not happening in 90, now 1990 or 2000. It was happening in 1990s, right? When he was investing in 2000, he was doing this already. Management, they used to call as MDA analysis. He's known for reading 4,000 pages, right? That's what he does. 4,000 pages he will read and then he will make the decision whether I should invest in that company or not. So inheritedly, ESG has a problem of subjectivity, right? Which creates an additional complication. Apart from disclosure might be missing entirely, incomplete data or comparable data not being available, or unaudited data is available. Most of the company currently is not getting audited, right? Only from this year they will get audited. So company managers argues that vast range of possible ESG data and conflicting demand can create such kind of challenges. Now, my problem here is the company manager argues that there is a conflicting demand of for the ESG data. Some people want it, some people doesn't want. But my challenge here is that among investor and stakeholder who needs more disclosure, they feel this is unreasonable. Materiality threshold, which is 5% in case of related party today in financial terminology, is inheritedly subjective. They say now third degree as well, right? Up to third degree they should measure. Correct? Now, my challenge here is significant disagreement persists only at this point in time between investor and the management about what should be disclosed. These disagreements often reflect differing culture norms. First of all, please understand, if you go to Russia and China, there is no differentiation between government and the management of company or the owner of the company. Most of the time, the government is the owner and they are selling to another government entity. So, related party, how will you judge? So, these disagreements often are differing because of the cultural aspect as well or geographical expectation too. For instance, Japanese company have historically had far fewer independent directors than the European and US company ones, which is reflected in Japan corporate governance code itself. Clear? But does that mean that they have lesser quality of the company? Of course not. It is culturally they are such similar. It goes to Korea as well. If you see the Korean company like Samsung, etc., they have a similar kind of impact. Similarly, US and German companies may have fundamentally different view about labor unions than the India and even UK. Now, the lack of consensus, what constitutes the ESG disclosure, represents a further challenge, and there is no global agreement yet. And what considered adequate probably varies with by asset class as well. The development of issuer reporting framework, specifically for ESG information, is in nascent stage compared to financial reporting. Let's agree to that. For example, you have IFRS, US GAAP, Indian AS, but BRSR is evolving. Although the number of stock exchanges and regulator requiring ESG disclosure is growing and growing very fast. Exactly in book, it is mentioned 35 countries and reason now have ESG disclosure mandated. But according to recent data, which I have access to, more than 65 countries are already reporting. They have standardized it. And last year, only 30, 40 country has come with a standardized structure. But standardization at global level is still illusion. Let's agree to that. Clear? Now, role of ISSB here offers a hope because it's already merging lot many other regulations by addressing these challenges, which we know for a fact, international level, standardization, etc., etc. Now, the International Sustainability Standard Board, which was established in 2021 by IFRS Foundation, is working to this end. Many call as alphabet soup. ESG today is treated as alphabet soup of fragmented and voluntary sustainability standards. ISSB has finalized first two standard in 2023, IFRS S1, which provides a general requirement. Like GRI, you must have seen general requirement. Even in BRSR, you have first section is general requirement. For sustainability reported related financial disclosures or information, and IFRS S2, which is specifically assessing the climate related disclosure. Now, these standards are built on TCFD, the preceding where the sun has set already. The recommendation of TCFD, which incorporated, which incorporates material topic from SASB. So both of them now is merged under ISSB, IFRS S1 and S2. The Climate Disclosure Standard Board and International Integrated Reporting Council, IRRC, all have been merged now. Clear? Now, if you have understood the challenges, let's go to the materiality as well. That how to assess a material topic which should be integrated into my financial decision making. Hence, my financial decision making becomes prudent. Now, materiality assessment we learned in GRI in detail, if you remember, it is a critical step in ESG analysis, and it is the process of identifying which ESG issue likely to have significant impact on a company financial performance and therefore require deeper research. Industry specifically, a specificity here is fundamental to understanding the materiality. So each industry has a different DNA, hence the materiality will be also different. Material ESG issue vary considerably by industry, by different industry. For example, utility versus airline. And their very good matrix is there. We should watch that. It is they have taken it from SASB, right? They are showing airline industry, they are showing utilities, they are showing tech and consulting. All companies, industry has been listed, and their material topic also color coded is being provided. Consider greenhouse gas emission in utility will be very high. Prioritize material topic. Airline also will have a similar kind of priority. Automobile manufacturing also will have a similar kind of probability. But moving to a lower carbon economy is what they should focus here. These carbon intensive business models like utility, airline, and auto manufacturing face potential regulatory charges and changes. I was just reading somewhere the major regulatory blow has come on the carbon pricing and the shifting of consumer preferences, specifically in the steel industry under CBAM is a very good example here. Now, however, GHG emissions are far less material in consulting industry, like company like your and mine. Are you with me? In the healthcare industry, medical insurer faces different material factors than the pharmaceutical company, even though they are in the similar industry. And even among pharmaceutical company, a firm with no commercially marketed product, they are just doing R&D, only research state drug they develop, and then they sell it to Bayer or to Reddy's, Dr. Reddy's, etc. They face a different near-term risk than the one who has a portfolio of marketed treatments. Now, measurement criteria is another very important issue for materiality assessment, which is typically involve two dimensions. Always remember two dimensions, the x-axis and the y-axis. The likelihood, the first dimension is the likelihood of ESG factor affecting a company. And the second dimension is what is the magnitude if it impacts. The potential impact is what kind of magnitude it will have. So frameworks such as SASB materiality map provides that guidance. That's why in book they have given that very clearly. Okay, but investment professional over often develop a proprietary view about these kind of structure as well. Clear? And what is most material? They will check the SASB, system through their website, etc. But they will develop their own as well. So determining which ESG issues, which is most material to judgment, is not an exact science. Remember that it's not an exact science. This really makes developing a proprietary materiality assessment alongside with a standardized framework as an important competency framework. So if you learn that, it's a very good advantage with you guys. And thankfully, both of you have learned it, at least with few practices, right? Now, ESG score. Sorry?
AA1000
Yes.
has a very
Absolutely.
good materiality assessment framework.
Absolutely. 100%.
It's
They
a
do
very
have.
good
They
materiality
have.
assessment.
Because audit happens, right? So audit
Yeah,
happens, so they have prepared something which is much
very good materiality assessment.
indeed. Now, if you look into ESG scorecard, one of the best method to use and easy to apply, easy to understand, and the trust of this scorecard is very high in the market. The scorecards among them, these are among the most common tools today, which uses to assess the material ESG factor, particularly the third party research or a standardized score, which are not available. That's why learning this area is very important. The purpose of a scorecard is to translate the quantitative judgment into numerical score. So this is the bridge. What is the bridge? ESG scorecard between qualitative analysis and quantitative analysis. Typically on a scale of 0 to 5 or 1 to 10, such matrices can be developed. Now, here the quantification enables material comparison among different company and integration into financial model. The end goal is that can I include these scorecard into my financial model? For example, investor might rate a company governance between 1 to 5 by scoring it, saying that no, this company I don't like it. I measure it at 3. Or they can take 20 area in the corporate governance and each of them they can do a rating, including number of independent directors, members on the board, gender diversity in the board, right? There are several criteria they can include: compensation practices, how much they give to independent director, how much they give to CEO, or do they have a link pay, a performance link pay, etc. All this can be measured. Now, a scorecard particularly useful for private company here, where rating agency scores are less likely to be available and less public information exists. They are also valuable for niche sector that major ESG rating provider may not be covering comprehensively. So always remember here the development steps for creating an effective scorecard typically follow following sequence. And this is the sequence 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Are you with me? The first is to identify the sector specific, company specific ESG item that matter most for that type of business. Again, SASB can help you. Second, break down each of these issues into measurable indicators such as policy existence. Do they have a policy for this aspect? जेंडर डाइवर्सिटी करने की बात कर रहे हैं, पॉलिसी है क्या? कि अगर नहीं होगा तो ये सीईओ पेनलाइज होगा, सीएफओ पेनलाइज होगा. You need to look into that. Clear? What specific measure are taken? Quality disclosure, quality of disclosure, are they explaining it properly? Third step is determine a scoring system based on these criteria and assign a score to them. Right? What is good, what is best practice looks like for each indicator. And then fourth step, you assess the company against these criteria and assign a score. And fifth is calculate aggregated scores. Clear? Take a total at issuer level by individual E, S, and G dimensions And in chapter number 8, these particular dimension will become very critical to make a judgment based on the asset class as well. Clear? So remember this, that a scoring system helps you even in portfolio management. Now, the relative weighting of each issue affects the calculation significantly. Okay. Finally, benchmarking a company performance against industry you need to do, specifically the peer group. Clear? So analytical value scores can be multifaceted and sometimes counterintuitive too. At a face value, low score might signal, and here a lot of people make mistake when they attempt the question number, chapter number 8 questions. And listen to me very carefully. At the face value, the low score might signal a company isn't attractive candidate for ESG focused investor. But under the right circumstances, even the low score, if the company has a low valuation, if they have a low valuation, you
Scope
remember
of
that
engagement and improvement.
Vandana was talking that question, you remember? Vandana, when she was appearing to the exam and the last day she came and sat with us, she had this potential, conflict because it is counterintuitive. Because if the value is low and their score is low, it's the good sign that if I
You
will
can
increase
engage and improve the score. So scope
absolutely
of engagement is there and improvement is there.
correct. So analytical value sometimes creates a value opportunity. It also helps you to mitigate the risk and versatility into the technique is adoptable to countries, sovereign debt or infrastructure or real estate helps you. Now, if you look into different techniques which are available in the market, ESG integration techniques, specifically to equity market. Okay. So if you are an investor, this is the best slide you should look into. Because after you conduct material assessment and gather relevant information, practitioner or investor like you and me who wants to value the issuer and their equity, at this stage, investor want to integrate the impact of material ESG factors so that the financial statement forecast and valuation input become more robust and resilient. Those number, if you add, just for example, if you add climate action into E part of course, ESG into your valuation, and you do a projection of cash flow accordingly, that every 2 year, I'm seeing there is a cyclone coming in this area. Are you with me? How you will be applying? You were asking this question, right, yesterday, that I want to understand how this works. So if you are doing a projection of cash flow based on their previous 10-year data, you will do a linear increase in their cash flow or in a revenue. But if I'm a conscious investor or I'm an investor who wants to consider ESG into my investment, and I know in this area now, environmental factor, which is coming as an environmental climate disaster, every 2 years, this area is affected by cyclone. Now, cyclone has different multifaceted impact to your operation. One, your those days when the cyclone is there, your operation will not be working. People might not be reaching you. Maybe 5 days early and 5 days later also people cannot reach your organization. So many days of non-working will be happening going forward regularly every 2 years. Will you not adjust your cash flow? And if you adjust your cash flow, will not your projection will be better than any Tom, Dick and Harry who is sitting and putting the data through technical analysis? Absolutely. And that is what it means. A discounted cash flow approach often offer multiple integration point, not one. Cash flow, discount rate, terminal growth, all these places you can go and integrate your thought process. For example, for cash flow specifically, let's take cash flow. Cash flow is after you have your profitability, you add for your fixed expenses back and take a difference between your working capital. That is what free cash flow means. Free cash flow means what? You take the profit which came from your profitability analysis, you add back depreciation, the things which are non-cash and you deducted earlier, you add back that. And then you also look into your non-working capital net value, which is called net working capital, which is NWC. What is that? That is, again, you have another part in your balance sheet, which is non-cash item. But you look into your, you integrate that into your cost of sales and cost of sales and cost of sales. Receivable होता है ना, receivable. Under accrual method, Gaurang will agree, all receivables are counted into your sales, and all payables which you have not paid yet will be counted into your cost. And matching principle apply करके उतना ही amount ले लेते हैं. तो financially you are prudent. But are those items are cash, Gaurang?
Actually, sir, in accounting standards, I mean Indian accounting standards especially,
हाँ.
it says you should not account for the unearned revenue that or
Unearned revenue. Yes.
that will come in future. You should
Right.
not account for that. And whereas in IFRS, for example, if there is increase in value of stock,
Correct.
inventory, then
Correct.
as per Indian accounting standard, we should value it at lower the market value or the cost of acquisition.
या
But in
MRV
case of
बोलते हैं
I,
उसको. हम्म.
sir, but in
हाँ.
case of
Right.
IFRS, it should be valued at the market value. So
Correct.
so we have a conservative approach, and that is the reason. I mean, in most of the economic
Disaster.
crisis,
Yes.
economic crisis, Indian banks were safe
Safe.
because we were already taking the conservative view.
Correct. Absolutely. So being conservative. So here, I'm just telling you the same thing that these are non-cash items, right? And even though we do not include the unearned revenue, but we do include the receivables, right? That is the fundamental of accrual accounting. I have sold it. I have yet not received the money. That's the fundamental here. And selling का एक definition होता है which you define into your policy, accounting policy में define कर देते हैं कि इसके बाद मैंने इनवॉइस रेज कर दिया, मटेरियल उसके घर पहुंच गया, उसके बाद उसको 30 डेज देते हैं कि पैसे दे दे मुझे. Even I do know for a fact that Indranilji is doing all the time. He knows that he supplies the material, he doesn't get paid immediately on the same time. या आपका काम तो केवल ट्रांसपोर्ट करना है. आपने ट्रांसपोर्ट कर दिया, आपको पैसे थोड़ी मिलते हैं. आपको एक पेपर मिल जाता है कि आपको पैसे मिल जाएंगे 30 दिन में, 90 डेज में, वट एवर डेज यू हैव. सो माई पॉइंट इज दिस रिसीवेबल एंड पेएबल्स आर अगेन अ नॉन कैश आइटम, एंड इन कैश फ्लो एनालिसिस दिस हैज टू बी नेटेड. This has to be netted. And then that item, because if you have too much of sales and too less of payables, you need to net it down, and opposite sign you have to put and put reduce from your this calculation which we are doing. From profit, you added back depreciation. And if you have too much of credit in market, you will कंपेयर टू योर डेबिट्स इन मार्केट, और टू मच ऑफ मतलब उधार है मार्केट में आपको जिससे पैसे आने हैं, और आपने जितने लोगों के पैसे रखे हैं वो कम है, तो एक एक्स्ट्रा अमाउंट आपके पास दिखेगा, वो डिडक्ट हो जाएगा क्योंकि वो नॉन कैश आइटम है. इन योर प्रॉफिट इट इज अ नॉन कैश आइटम. अब ये थोड़ा सा टेक्निकल है, बट आप समझोगे तो बहुत ईजी है. If you are understanding, it becomes very easy. What I'm saying is, if that is not cash, it should not be part of cash flow. As simple as that. That's it. That is the free cash flow. Once you have free cash flow, you need to make adjustment on account of ESG. This is what we are trying to do here. कैसे करेंगे? For example, if company faces a significant environmental regulation, या कुछ लिटिगेशन आने वाला है, जैसे सीबैम आने वाला है, इस कंपनी में ये साल में नहीं लगेगा, नेक्स्ट ईयर लगने वाला है. क्यों? क्योंकि स्टील फैक्ट्री है, स्टील प्रोड्यूस करती है या सप्लाई कर रही है ना. सो फॉर फ्यूचर कैश फ्लो हैज टू बी इम्पेयर्ड. दैट इज व्हाट यू हैव टू लुक इनटू. कि लिटिगेशन आएगा, सीबैम का टैक्स आएगा, हो सकता है ये कंटेस्ट करे, ये बोले कि नहीं, इंडियन गवर्नमेंट ने मुझे बोला है, सीतारामन जी कल ही बोल रही थी कि मैं नहीं दूंगी पैसे, तो हम लोग नहीं देंगे जब तक कि वो सीतारामन जी अलाउ नहीं करती हैं. बट वो बोलेगा ना, फिर बिजनेस बंद करो मेरे साथ. So will you not impair your revenues and cash flows? Even forget about revenues, cash flow ही impair करना है आपको. And that is the adjustment. Investor factors such kind of cost of these risks by lowering company valuation by touching your cash flow. Are you with me? By adjusting specific कर सकते हैं on direct basis. For example, assessment of environmental litigation fine of 5 million or billion Japanese yen, or through risk adjusted scenario analysis, where probability of weightage impact of carbon tax forecast annually, which is our model today, I can do it every year. कि इतना इंपैक्ट आएगा सीबैम का, रिड्यूस करो भाई इसका कैश फ्लो हर एक ईयर का 5% से। इवन तो ग्रोथ इसका 4% है, 5% से इसका मुझे कैश फ्लो डाउन करना है। क्यों? बिकॉज आई नो सीबैम विल पेनलाइज हिम एवरी ईयर, आइदर ही इम्प्लीमेंट better measures or he should do it. Clear? Now, conversely, if a company is well positioned to benefit from ESG opportunity, so there is some opportunity for these guys. They were very techy. They were climate tech oriented people. They put CCUS unit, they have sequestration project in their hand, so now that is opportunity for him. Correct? So compared to his peer, his growth will be further added, such as selling product which reduces the customer electricity uses, could boost the future cash flow through higher revenue growth tomorrow. Because everybody will jump to that company. अच्छा आप मेरे को सप्लाई करो, because now I have to pay CBAM, so at least you will help me to reduce. So उसके पास कस्टमर बढ़ने वाले हैं, राइट? सो जो भी सोलर पावर पैनल या सोलर पावर कंपनीज हैं, उनके कस्टमर बढ़ने वाले हैं, तो रेवेन्यू भी बढ़ेगी ना। नाउ कम टू डिस्काउंट रेट। इफ यू आर टॉकिंग अबाउट डिस्काउंट रेट विच रिप्रेजेंट्स द रिक्वायर्ड रेट of return or cost of capital, whichever way you want to know, right? They can also be adjusted. How you adjust them? First of all, you do by sector wise or market wide is ESG risk you can do, such as climate change policy affecting your entire oil and gas industry today. An analyst might increase the discount rate to account for increased volatility in future cash flows. A higher discount rate leads to lower estimate of intrinsic value. All else become equal. Remember that pari passu एक word होता है economics में, right? Pari passu, correct? I'm pronouncing it correct. Pari passu, which is all thing remains same. What will be impact on intrinsic value? High discount rate will always bring your valuation down. Now, if you are looking for terminal growth, तीन जगह से वैल्यू आती है किसी कंपनी की. By the way, just to give you a little background here, three things से वैल्यू आती है कंपनी की. पहला फ्री कैश फ्लो, not profit, not cash flow, free cash flow. Does this company really has lot of free cash flow? Clear? So फ्री कैश फ्लो का फॉर्मूला आपको बता दिया मैंने. नाउ दूसरा चीज है डिस्काउंट रेट through which you discount your future cash flows. So the free cash flows which you have projected for next 10 years, you need to discount and bring them to present value. Now, present value mein discount rate can be changed as well because of these issues. And the last is terminal value, because there is a only foreseeable period for you, might be 5 year or 10 year, but the company will exist for 10 year? Absolutely not. It will exist in perpetuity. That is our fundamental assumption in accounting. क्या बोलते हैं उसको? गोइंग आई बिलीव उसको एक टर्मिनोलॉजी गोइंग कंसर्न जो हम लोग यूज करते हैं कोई भी कंपनी के काउंट करने के लिए कि इसका एज 10 साल नहीं है, उसके बियॉन्ड भी है. सो फॉर कैलकुलेटिंग दैट बियॉन्ड का वैल्यू वी हैव अ सिंपल सिस्टम कॉल्ड टर्मिनल ग्रोथ रेट एंड टर्मिनल वैल्यू कैलकुलेशन. Again, you can use the same formula, or you can use Gordon growth, or you can use valuation, terminal valuation multiples. There are different formulas here, which actually reflects the long-term sustainable growth prospect of that company in future. Right? And here, remember, the caution which you need to take into consideration is double counting. Analysts should be very careful about reducing the projected cash flow and increasing the discount rate, because both will impact same side of the equation. Are you with me? And maybe you are doing for the same ESG factor. Don't do that. While this might be appropriate when both the expected value of cash flow decreased and uncertainty around the expected value has increased, it might be otherwise overly punitive on the company on which you are working on. So be careful here. Okay. Have you understood when to use cash flow changes and when to use discount rate? Or shall I explain once more? कब डिस्काउंट रेट को टच करना है, कब कैश फ्लो को टच करना है, और दोनों एक साथ आप टच करना लुक्स वेरी कंजर्वेटिव, बट इट माइट बी ओवरली प्यूनिटिव एज वेल. ओके।
सो
तो
कैश फ्लो टच करेंगे व्हेन आई हैव एन असेसमेंट की ये इंसिडेंट से देयर वुड बी डायरेक्ट इम्पैक्ट ऑन द सेल्स और कैश,
सेल्स और कैश फ्लो या कॉस्ट बढ़
डायरेक्ट
जाएगा।
कोई कॉस्ट आएगा,
हाँ, कॉस्ट
एंड
बढ़ जाएगा।
डिस्काउंट रेट विल बी बेसिकली एडजस्टिंग फॉर द रिस्क ऑफ द बिजनेस, इंक्रीज
एब्सोल्युटली।
रिस्क ऑफ द
वोलेटिलिटी।
बिजनेस,
हाँ,
वॉलेटिलिटी।
वोलेटिलिटी अगर बढ़ रही है कंपनी में तो डिस्काउंट रेट लगाना है, तो सिंपल लिंक मिल गया। एंड हमेशा याद रखना है, दोनों को एक साथ नहीं करना है। वैल्यूएशन मल्टीपल ऑफर अनदर इंटीग्रेशन पाथवे। So rather than using DCF, which is discounted cash flow, you can also use valuation multiple based on what is your peer companies are valued at. The P ratio, the PB ratios. You have heard that, right? The premium P ratio relative to peers you can have, right? Because you have a superior ESG management, for instance, or lower employee turnover or higher customer satisfaction scores that may investor believes will translate into superior customer retention and hence the revenue growth. So valuation multiple भी similar style में आप use कर सकते हो. Clear? And avoid double counting by adjusting the cash flow and discounting rate. ये हमेशा ध्यान रखिएगा. Now, once that is done, then अगर fixed income की बात मैं करूं, if I am talking about fixed income, here, fixed income investor approach is very simple. Why? Because ESG integration, first of all, is very different than the equity. It's not same. Reflecting, because in equity, you need to go and touch 3 points, right? Discounting rate, cash flows, as well as terminal growth. यहाँ पे you know the life of your fixed income. जनरली टेन्योर ऑफ योर डेट, बॉन्ड और आपका लोन फिक्स होता है. सो एटलीस्ट यू नो दैट व्हाट इज द पीरियड. सो टर्मिनल वैल्यू इज नॉट अ चैलेंज फॉर यू. First of all, now core focus here is that when a bond holder, so if you are buying the bond from company, you want a downside protection. That's why you have taken a bond, right? कि कुछ भी होगा मैं कंपनी से जाके उतना पैसे ले लूंगा जितने का मैंने बॉन्ड उससे खरीदा है. Fixed income investor hold the instrument based on the seniority of the capital structure as well. The tranche उसको बोलते हैं, tranche. या सो ट्रांचे वन तो आपको डायरेक्ट लियन मिल जाता है. लियन का मतलब आपको उस कंपनी का उतना पोर्शन पे ओनरशिप आपका है. It's not ownership, but you have a lien. That's a alternative word. Of course, it both has a different meaning. But in law, lien को क्या exactly define करते हैं? Anybody remembers? Both of you are having some law background.
नहीं नहीं, लॉ में लियन इज बेसिकली यू हैव अ फर्स्ट चार्ज ऑन द एसेट.
First charge, yes. But it is not ownership, but it is
It's not
kind of
ownership.
ownership, even though
It's a
it's a better
first
than
charge.
ownership.
First
Better
charge.
than ownership.
Ownership is the last charge,
Last,
basically.
last charge है, correct.
Ownership,
Equity
equity
is
ownership
last.
get last.
लास्ट उसको तो लॉस लेना है, उसको तो
Yes.
हंड्रेड
This
परसेंट
is
अगर लॉस हुआ है तो
basically
लॉस
a
लेना.
secured credit.
सिक्योर क्रेडिट
Like a secured
मतलब
credit.
एसेट पे मॉर्गेज करा के आप देते हो लियन. हेंस
Hmm.
द बॉन्ड होल्डर इंस्ट्रूमेंट हमेशा श्योरिटी के हिसाब से डिफरेंट वैल्यू निकाली जाती है फॉर स्पेसिफिकली फॉर फाइनाइट मैच्योरिटी, राइट, विच इज प्रॉमिस्ड इंटरेस्ट एंड प्रिंसिपल पेमेंट्स. यू हैव इंटरेस्ट एज वेल एज यू विल गेट योर प्रिंसिपल पेड बैक एट द लाइट मे बी प्रिस्क्राइब डेट्स. सो एक बुलेट पेमेंट होता है, एक इंटरमीडिएट पेमेंट होता है. बुलेट पेमेंट मतलब लास्ट डे पे ही आपको सब कुछ मिलेगा. Even sometime interest. You don't get coupons. You get on the last day everything. Which is that instrument? Anybody remembers that instrument? There is an instrument which gives you everything on the last day itself. The instrument name is treasury bonds. You buy today at discount and then you wait till the maturity and then you get the full amount of that bond. तो 1,000 रुपए का बॉन्ड होगा, आप 800 में आज खरीद लोगे क्योंकि डिस्काउंट पे आपको मिलता है वो. और वो इंटरेस्ट है उसका अनदर 200 रुपीज देन यू कैन गो एंड गेट एट द मैच्योरिटी. सो आज आपने 800 दिया और एक महीने के बाद, एक साल के बाद, एक क्वार्टर के बाद यू गेट दैट एक्चुअल वैल्यू ऑफ दैट बॉन्ड. दैट इज कॉल्ड ट्रेजरी बॉन्ड. क्लियर? सो आपने पूछा था ना कि मुझे लाइव एग्जांपल चाहिए, तो दिस इज वन ऑफ द वेरी गुड एग्जांपल फॉर फिक्स्ड इनकम. क्लियर? नाउ हियर ईएसजी फैक्टर का इंटीग्रेशन has a greater emphasis. Why? Why people put lot of emphasis on ESG factor here? Because balance sheet strength ESG के थ्रू आती है. अगर कॉर्पोरेट गवर्नेंस ही नहीं है गवर्नमेंट ऑफ यूएस के पास, लोग उसका ट्रेजरी बॉन्ड डंप कर रहे थे. ऑफ कोर्स नाउ ही हैज शोन मॉडल कि भैया कमजोर नहीं समझने का, मैं वेनेजुएला जैसे कंट्री को एक्वायर कर सकता हूं. मैं कल ग्रीनलैंड लेने वाला हूं, परसों इंडिया को कॉल करूंगा कि तुझे देना है। आर यू गेटिंग माई पॉइंट? दे आर डूइंग, व्हाई दे आर डूइंग? बिकॉज देयर बॉन्ड्स वर गेटिंग डंप्ड. People were saying useless, go to hell, your dollar has no value, your bond has no value. All China was going nuts. America has no other way to find a friend of China and teach him a lesson. And now they're teaching a lesson. They are not teaching India. फोन पे बोल रहा है कि इंडिया को नहीं करना चाहिए और वो ऐसा वैसा, लेकिन वो बोल रहा है चाइना को. मतलब एक्शन तो चाइना पे ले रहा है ना, हम पे तो केवल खेल रहा है. मोदी जी सॉफ्ट टारगेट हो गए. So he's just playing that. My point here is, ये क्यों हो रहा है? Because treasury bond is getting impacted. And treasury bond, why it is getting impacted? Because ESG factors were weak, which was affecting the America ka balance sheet. And hence, Trump has taken this action. He has every right as a nation, as a world leader. He has every right to do anything he wants. Of course, people will not agree, but he can do whatever he wants. And here, risk of default was a major issue with the bond, dollar. That's why he launched a stable coin. That's why he launched so many things. He's doing too many things. Okay, people are just seeing bits and pieces and reacting in news media. एक ही न्यूज चलेगा, वेनेजुला चलेगा. कोई नहीं ये नहीं बोलेगा कि मोदी जी को उसने क्या बोल दिया फोन करके. दूसरा न्यूज फिर कोई पकड़ लेगा कि गोल्ड का प्राइस गिर रहा है, उठ रहा है, बहुत ऊपर जा रहा है. So these are just one threads. Actually, there is a massive work going behind right now, behind the curtain. 80% of the work is still world has not seen. Trust me. You go to investor fraternity and they are talking about it. AI, they are talking about AI, how AI will impact, how Bitcoin will come back, right? So these constraints with an equity investor, which you have, because you have to do everything in public eye, who owns residual claim only on the cash flow, and the asset are therefore relatively more concerned about the growth opportunity, and it is linked to the bond market. Hence, bond market is much critical market. And world's fear bond investor. World fears bond investor. And this reaction which you are seeing by Mudaro going to jail in UK or US is reaction to that. One of the good recent example, I'm not saying that exactly it is that, there might be something more beyond I know, right? But I'm just telling you this is the market, what they are talking about. And here a structural difference between bond and equity requires ESG integration. ESG integration structural level पे अलग है. Remember, bond between bond and equity, क्योंकि bond has a wider range of issuers beyond those that issues equity. If you see equity versus bond market, it is 10 time, 100 time, and forex market तो 1000 time होता है, by the way. फॉरेक्स मार्केट तो 5 ट्रिलियन में चल रहा है, बॉन्ड 80 में चलेगा, 800 मिलियन, सॉरी 800 बिलियन में चलेगा, और 80 बिलियन में चलेगा आपका किसी भी कंट्री का. आई एम जस्ट गिविंग यू एवरेज equity market. So this is the difference between bond, equity and forex market. But I am talking about here bond market, which is structurally different. And here their issuers are different. गवर्नमेंट इशू कर सकती है. गवर्नमेंट आपने सुना इक्विटी इशू कर रही है, नहीं, उसको एक कंपनी बनानी होगी तब इशू कर सकता है, बट बॉन्ड करती है. नॉन प्रॉफिट ऑर्गेनाइजेशन कर सकती है. आपने सुना है नॉन प्रॉफिट ऑर्गेनाइजेशन इक्विटी इशू कर रही है? कभी नहीं सुना होगा. ऑफ कोर्स 20 पीपल है, वही लिमिटेड पीपल होते हैं जो उसके नॉन नॉन प्रॉफिट डायरेक्टर्स होते हैं. नाउ स्पेशल पर्पस एंटिटी आ सकती है यहाँ पे बॉन्ड इशू करने के लिए. जो ये आपने सुना होगा मॉर्टगेज बैक्ड लोन्स, एमबीएस, एबीएस, राइट, ऑल दिस स्ट्रक्चरल फाइनेंस विच हैपेंस, tranche 1, tranche 2, you can find thousands of it. Each issuer type requires a different kind of ESG framework because they are exposed to different kind of risk. अब एमबीएस का रिस्क was completely different than the loan market risk. Mortgage backed securities जो थी, which was a derivative, it has much more exposure than the loan market itself. सबप्राइम लोन का जो इशू था, लोन मार्केट पे उतना इंपैक्ट नहीं आया. सबसे बड़े मरने वाले कौन थे? लेमन ब्रदर. हु वाज ही वाज डेवलपिंग दोज नोट्स एंड सेलिंग इनटू द मार्केट. दैट्स व्हाई नोबडी सेव्ड हिम इवन, राइट? एक्सा को सेव कर लिया, बैंक ऑफ अमेरिका को सेव कर लिया, मेरिल लिंच को सेव कर लिया, बट इसको नहीं किया. क्यों? कि तूने ही ये सब गलत प्रोडक्ट लेके आए थे. दैट्स व्हाई दे वर सेइंग, राइट? नाउ रिगार्डिंग पोर्टफोलियो परफॉर्मेंस, bond has a unique structure. Here research need to be looked into. What you have to research the support for integrating ESG in fixed income. हियर बार्कले ने 2018 में एक स्टडी की है जो आपके बुक में है, क्लियर, वेयर दे एग्जामिन्ड अ हाई ईएसजी वर्सेस लो ईएसजी पोर्टफोलियो। बहुत अच्छा एग्जांपल है, लुक इनटू इट बिकॉज चैप्टर नंबर 8 में इट विल कम अगेन, right? And there only you have to make a decision, where they looked into investment grade bonds using data sets of MSCI, a larger body, then Sustainalytics. MSCI is known for mostly their financial investment, but Sustainalytics also look into ESG. The results showed that high ESG portfolio has outperformed in 2018। वो लास्ट 10 ईयर का डेटा लेके उन लोगों ने किया था, 2009 से 2018 का, यूएस एंड यूरोपियन इन्वेस्टमेंट ग्रेड मार्केट में ये एनालिसिस की गई थी। एंड इट इज वैलिड ऑल द टाइम, ओके, these are empirical study, gets validated all the time। However, critics will be there and they point out important caveat here। They pointed out what they said, that this time period which was studied was relatively short। That's what their game, it's only 10 year। बॉन्ड मार्केट में 10 ईयर का कोई मतलब ही नहीं है, सबको यहाँ पे तो 10 ईयर का तो मिनिमम बॉन्ड है, 30 ईयर मैक्सिमम है, 100 ईयर का भी सोवेनियर बॉन्ड होता है, कोई लाइफ लाइन लिमिट ही नहीं है। एंड ईएसजी रेटिंग कोरिलेट्स विद द क्वालिटी एंड अदर फैक्टर। इंफॉर्मेशन इज अ मेजर गेम हियर। सो इन 2009 में इतना इंफॉर्मेशन ही नहीं था। Are you with me? So those were the critics point on those study, making it unclear what portion of observed performance was attributable to ESG factor। That's why they questioned it। So always both side you should know the research outcome and as well as what critic or what peer reviews has said। Now, portfolio managers and are today developing more sophisticated proprietary metrics which goes beyond simple ESG tilt। ESG tilt is one another formula। Scoring आपने सीख लिया, ESG tilt is another formula। Some fixed income specialist asset manager today use third party ESG data but combine it with other methodology which produces proprietary ESG matrices, right? ESG data is fundamental, absolute oriented ESG rating and relative ESG investment scores. All three can be combined together। Even these frameworks allow investment team to assess ESG risk। How it helps? By looking into specific ESG risk। Now let's go into looking into souvenir bond, a special souvenir or municipality ESG bonds। Here souvenir factors or municipal debt which investor today begin to integrate ESG are focusing on country level or local government level consideration only, which differs, by the way। sovereign bonds and municipality bonds पे अलग अलग ESG मैट्रिक्स लगाई जा सकती है and they are much different than the corporate ESG analysis। For example, souvenir factors which investor nowadays are examining are climate risk exposure। For example, Honduras, countries like Honduras, Tuvalu। Do you know Tuvalu का बॉन्ड कोई खरीदेगा ही नहीं, क्यों? Tell me why। Tuvalu is a country will have a sovereign bond if they want, but nobody will buy। ESG रेटिंग में जीरो आएगा उसका रेटिंग, क्यों? इट इज सिंकिंग कंट्री ऑफ द वर्ल्ड।
ओह अच्छा।
उस समुद्र के अंदर
फिजिकल
दबन,
क्लाइमेट रिस्क।
फिजिकल क्लाइमेट रिस्क है वहां पे, कोई बाय ही नहीं करेगा। सो सोवरेन डेट इन्वेस्टर हैव लॉन्ग इंटीग्रेटेड इवन पॉलिटिकल रिस्क। अभी वेनेजुएला में कोई बॉन्ड उसका खरीदेगा? ऑफ कोर्स सब डंप करेंगे। नोबडी नोज व्हाट विल हैपन टुमारो विद द गवर्नमेंट, रन करेगी कि उसको भी ये सीरिया और ये बनाएगी, हु नोज व्हाट विल हैपन टुमारो। ऑफ कोर्स यहाँ पे तो फोर फ्रंट पे आके काम हो रहा है। वो सीरिया एंड लिबिया में इट वाज बैक फ्रंट, देयर वाज अ स्प्रिंग व्हिच हैज हैपेंड। क्या नाम था उसका? बहुत अच्छा नाम था, मिडिल ईस्ट में एक स्प्रिंग हुआ,
अरब स्प्रिंग, अरब स्प्रिंग।
अरब स्प्रिंग, राइट, अरब स्प्रिंग। तो
वो तो
वो
अभी विंटर हो गया।
अभी विंटर है, वो पिछले 20 साल से 10 साल से विंटर ही है ना, कुछ नहीं हो रहा है वहां पे, गवर्नमेंट ही नहीं बन पा रही है। सो माई पॉइंट इज, विल यू इन्वेस्ट इन सच काइंड ऑफ सॉवरेन बॉन्ड? गौरंग तो कभी नहीं करेंगे भाई, नहीं, उससे अच्छा इंडिया में करते हैं। एटलीस्ट कोई तो एक आदमी है खींच रहा है कोई तो है, वहां तो कोई नहीं है। वो तो मार के खा गए, उनको रास्ते पे गोली मार दिया था, है ना। तो उन्होंने भी बॉन्ड को डंप किया, डॉलर को डंप किया था, मुडारो ने भी डॉलर को डंप किया, सबका सीक्वेंस एक ही है, एक्शन अलग अलग है। नाउ challenge includes even greater subjectivity than in corporate sector and limited। They are very limited here, ठीक है। नाउ inconsistent disclosure across countries brings additional ESG requirements. जैसे अभी टुवालू का एग्जांपल दिया मैंने आपको, है ना, या होंडारस का दिया, जहां पे पूरा स्क्रैप हो जाता है, एक हरिकेन आता है, पूरी कंट्री साफ हो जाती है ना. Now, low probability, high impact events such as climate disaster that could impair country ability to service the debt are particularly difficult to analyze. यहां पे एक एस्कॉर फ्रेमवर्क है, असेसिंग क्लाइमेट रिलेटेड अपॉर्चुनिटी एंड रिस्क. एस्कॉर ASCOR represents a significant development in sovereign ESG analysis today. So that is the framework which you can use. It is released very recently in 2023 with the assessment of 25 pilot countries. So they did it on 25 pilot countries, and this framework was developed by asset owners only. Asset managers, investor network, everybody came together in LSE, London School of Economics, and they looked into traditional pathway initiative. Now, ASCOR helps in sovereign debt investor who develop the net zero portfolio solution by providing standardized assessment of climate risk and opportunity at country level. So इसका एम क्या है? नेट जीरो सेट करना कंट्रीज के लिए. While municipal bonds present a ESG integration consideration which might be similar to sovereign debt but focused on local factors. It is not focused on a country level, of course. Now, these includes local population need, infrastructure resilience, and the taxing authority which are active, or the ability of taxing authority to collect enough revenue to deploy it back or service the service the debt which they are taking through municipality debt or municipality bond, munis bond they are called as. इंडिया में उसका नाम है मसाला बॉन्ड, राइट. पहली बार केरला में लॉन्च हुआ था मसाला बॉन्ड. अगर आप जाएंगे जर्मनी में तो उसका नाम बंड है, और बंड पिकअप कर रहा था. बाय द वे, अनदर न्यूज वाज बंड वाज स्लोली पिकिंग अप, अभी भी पिकअप कर रहा हो. अमेरिकन बॉन्ड्स वेर गेटिंग डंप्ड, बंड वाज पिकिंग अप. अगेन सिमिलर नेचर बट बेटर रेजिलियंस. याद रखिएगा, फ्रांस को खा गए थे इसी की वजह से. France has been eaten up in Second World War because of this, such kind of issues. The people started trusting more of France compared to more of US. They eaten up the France at that point in time. कुछ नहीं हुआ. Now, general obligation bonds typically rely on full faith and credit, which includes taxing power of that authority. जैसे मुंबई can have a better taxing power compared to इंदौर. दोनों मतलब ग्रीनिंग की तरफ ही जा रहे हैं, बट इंदौर में उतनी पावर नहीं है. क्यों? 10 लोग अभी मरे हैं उधर पानी पी के. नॉर्मल पानी was contaminated and 10 people died. And when somebody asked that politician why they are dying, he said that get lost. Clear? So those authorities are very important to look into. While the revenue of the bond depends upon a specific income which get linked, municipal bonds are generally linked to certain incomes. That ये बिल्डिंग बना रहा हूँ, इससे जो इनकम आएगा ये बॉन्ड को सर्विस करने में जाएगा, राइट. इनकम स्पेसिफिक, या बस का मैंने कर रहा है, बस में इन्वेस्टमेंट करना है, BSRTC में करना है, and we whatever earning from there it will come, it will be servicing the loan. That's what they will tell. But maybe more or less vulnerable because of the ESG factor. अभी कोस्टल रीजन है मुंबई, सारे बस बहुत जल्दी करोड़ होंगे. Who will take care of that? वो इतना ज्यादा तो नहीं बॉन्ड से पैसे उठा रहे हैं कि वो बाद में वो सर्विस खुद का बिल्डिंग ही ना कर पाए. नाउ हियर वर्ल्ड बैंक सोवेनियर ESG डेटा पोर्टल हेल्प्स यू, which was relaunched in 2023 and today has become an influential resource for sovereign debt analysis. This portal includes 71 ESG indicators ranging from water stress, coastal protection, and forest cover loss, kind of, or heating or cooling degrees days, precipitation on anomalies, data for economic and social right. All these factors are included there. 71 है टोटल इंडिकेटर उसमें. किसमें? वर्ल्ड बैंक सोवेनियर ESG डेटा पोर्टल में. Clear? It also includes contextual indicators such as human capital index, inflation, and land surface area. Notably, even when sovereign ESG rating share the same underlying World Bank data, correlation between different provider of the scores can quite low. एक इसमें एक मैट्रिक्स दिखाया है बुकलेट में, चेक कर लेना आप लोग, बड़ा इंटरेस्टिंग मैट्रिक्स है. Clear? Which highlights the methodology differentiation. और इस पे क्वेश्चन भी है end of the chapter में, right? Which talks about methodology differentiation, which creates the significant variation of assignments. Clear? Now,
0.3% is a correlation. Normally, I think it's somewhere it's given.
मतलब जनरली नहीं है.
ESG इसका 0.3 का एवरेज कोरिलेशन आता है, बट फाइनेंशियल पैरामीटर्स और वैल्यूएशन में 0.9 का कोरिलेशन है, डिफरेंट
Can you
बिटवीन
understand?
डिफरेंट
तो
ये.
if 0.9 है तो डाइवर्सिफिकेशन जीरो है, पहला बात. अगर 0.3 है तो डाइवर्सिफिकेशन ज्यादा है, राइट?
डाइवर्सिफिकेशन भी है, प्लस द मेथोडोलॉजी इज न्यू, एज यू सेड इट इज स्टिल डेवलपिंग,
सेल डेवलप.
एंड दैट इज वेल एस्टेब्लिश्ड सिंगल मेथोडोलॉजी. इसमें अभी हर कोई अलग अलग मेथोडोलॉजी, कोई स्टैंडर्डाइजेशन नहीं है, एंड
बिल्कुल.
डाइवर्सिफिकेशन हो जा रहा है इसलिए.
Absolutely right. Now, credit rating and ESG is another very important area in this chapter, which has been highlighted. That rating agencies, which has evolved their approach across world to ESG significantly today. Over past decade, in last 10 years, prior to 2016, the credit rating agency typically did not have attempted even capture any environmental, ethical, or social impact. Today, all of them are doing in credit rating itself. No, no, not necessarily their sustainability rating. I'm talking about credit rating. When a rating a carbon intensive company like a steel factory or cement factory is happening, the rating agencies here focuses on material impact of financial, regulatory, and legal factors affecting the credit risk. Correct or wrong, Gaurang? If Gaurang is there, I think he's there. Right? No, he left. Now, so my point was ratio analysis serves foundation for integrating ESG into credit assessment. Okay. Remember, using a standard credit ratio analysis, credit rating agency might test ESG factor which are affecting to issuer ability to convert asset into cash through profitability or cash flow analysis, right? So this is how any credit agency today are considering potential ESG events and which could have a cost of capital impact as well, depending on the share of debt, issuer capital structure, etc., etc. They also analyze the extent to which ESG related cost affects the issuer ability to generate profit. Anybody who is issuing the bond, do they have that ability? So credit investors use these rating today to price, trade and assess the credit sensitive fixed income securities. Specifically in fixed income में बहुत use आता है ratio analysis. Remember? Which affect the profitability and etc. So what are the potential biases which may get included in credit rating? The first one is company size. Of course, if the larger is the firm, will definitely obtain higher rating due to more resources and disclosure they can do. Second is geography. So the lower the company, worse the credit rating. Second is geography. Here biases towards region with high reporting requirements will be obviously higher. Europe will be that example जहाँ पे ज़्यादा requirement है आपको फाइलिंग की, उसकी ऑटोमेटिकली क्रेडिट रेटिंग वहाँ पे सारी कंपनियों की बेटर होगी कंपेयर टू एनी अदर रीजन. Third is industry as well. Oversimplification of industry weighting and company alignment sometimes counter intuitive. Okay, so remember, if the industry is known for greening, they will get better credit rating even. Now, green bond and SLBs, a concept which is very essential to know. Green bond and SLB. Now, remember, green bonds and sustainability linked bond represent two important category of in fixed income instrument today, which are designed to channel capital towards environmental and sustainability objectives. Green bonds are fixed income instrument which used to finance project which intend to environment benefits. Always remember, environment benefit, green bond. Are you with me? There is a confusion. A lot of people, example de deta hun, so it will become very easy. Example include project which are associated with renewable energy, public transportation, energy efficient building, manufacturing processes, agriculture land management, waste management or water management. If these are the places where use of proceed are going, credit assessment here follows the conventional plan. है ना? And these are the green bond. Now a green bond का credit risk assessed in the same manner as the conventional bond. Always remember that. With one important is exception here. What is that exception? Here the labeling of bond is green, which requires a consideration of ESG or a sustainability aspect of the project, that how it impacts climate. Clear? Specifically, the use of proceed from these bond issuance must lead to genuine, not greenwashing, genuine environmental benefits. Debate, of course, continues what makes a bond truly green, or because no global consensus is there, people keep on fighting. एक notable example यहाँ पे, many investors rejected reposal green bonds. ये example दिया है 2017 में, because they said that it will financial improvement will happen to oil refinery, questioning whether the efficiency improvement of fossil fuel facility should qualify as green or not. What they were doing, Repsol said that I want to launch a green bond. Why they were launching it? Said that I want to improvise my operation in fossil fuel company, oil refinery को better बनाएंगे, green बनाएंगे.
तो वो सस्टेनेबिलिटी लिंक्ड बॉन्ड हो जाएगा, फिर ग्रीन बॉन्ड नहीं होगा।
नहीं, उसमें एक ट्रबल है, आप समझिए, ग्रीन बॉन्ड भी नहीं हो, सस्टेनेबिलिटी लिंक बॉन्ड भी नहीं हो सकता। क्यों? क्योंकि यहाँ पे एक डाइकोटॉमी है कि अगर आप ऑयल बिजनेस को प्रमोट कर रहे हो, इज इट नॉट
ओह,
अ काउंटर इंट्यूटिव टारगेट्स? उसकी वजह से
करेक्ट
इसको
करेक्ट।
रिजेक्ट किया था,
अच्छा।
इसकी वजह से रिजेक्ट किया था कि फॉसिल फ्यूल फैसिलिटी को अच्छा करने के लिए पैसा अगर लगे और ग्रीन पैसा लगे तो वो ग्रीन कहलाएगा क्या? अब एब्सोल्युटली नॉट, हो तो प्रमोट हो गया ना, प्रमोशन हो गया कि मैं अब साफ कर रहा हूं। अरे साफ क्या कर रहे हो? फॉसिल फ्यूल को कितना भी चमकाओगे, फॉसिल फ्यूल ही रहेगा ना, वो थोड़ी बदल जाएगा। Are you with me? However, sustainability linked bond represent a related but distinct instrument type. Why? Because unlike green bond, where target is only environmental related stuff or climate action related stuff, which requires that proceed from these bonds should specifically finance environmental project. SLB proceeds are not ring faced. इट इज नॉट रिंग फेंस्ड। व्हाई? बिकॉज एनी पर्टिकुलर पर्पस के लिए नहीं करना है यहां पे, इंस्टेड दे आर इशूड फॉर जनरल ऑब्लिगेशन बॉन्ड विथ अ कंट्रैक्चुअल लिंकेज टू अचीवमेंट ऑफ सस्टेनेबिलिटी टारगेट बाय द इशूअर। तो वो कोई एक सस्टेनेबिलिटी टारगेट ले सकता है, S16, SDG 14, SDG 13, 5, जेंडर इक्वालिटी, कोई भी टारगेट ले सकता है। वो ग्रीनिंग के लिए नहीं लेना है, उसको इन्वायरमेंटल ही नहीं लेना है। ही कैन टेक एनी सस्टेनेबिलिटी टारगेट। दैट्स द डिफरेंस। आर यू विद मी? This is the trigger step in coupon. Failing to target trigger step will have a challenge here as well. Typical structure यहाँ पे involve ये होता है कि issuer agree करता है to pay a higher coupon to investor if it fails to achieve specific sustainability targets. अगर कोई टारगेट वो अचीव नहीं किया ना, तो he will pay you more. That is another distinction in SLB. उसने कोई टारगेट फिक्स किया, मान लो इन्वायरमेंटल ही टारगेट फिक्स कर लिया कि मैं इतना कार्बन इमिशन करता हूं नॉर्मली, मैं इसको कम करूंगा, जीरो पे लेके आ जाऊंगा, लेकिन अगर वो नहीं मीट करूंगा तो मैं आपको एक्स्ट्रा पैसे दे दूंगा। ये ग्रीनिंग है क्या? नहीं, ग्रीनिंग नहीं है, क्राइम हो रहा है, लेकिन इट इज कॉम्पनसेटेड बाय पेइंग यू लिटिल एक्स्ट्रा। आर यू विथ मी? तो ये थोड़ा सा सटल डिफरेंस है बिटवीन ऑयल कंपनी का ग्रीन बॉन्ड वर्सेस SLB टेकिंग अ टारगेट। नाउ वेरिफिकेशन एंड स्टैंडर्ड्स आर वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट हियर and they are crucial in preventing the greenwashing. Clear? Without them, you can't exist. Green bonds often have a third party verification and assurance that ensure that use of proceeds meets the criteria set out in the bond documentation. Clear hai? Now, if you look into real estate and private, this is also a kind of investment, right? Real estate or private market presents a unique ESG integration. Can we stop here? Means, of course, I will finish the real estate, उसके बाद stop करते हैं, फिर हम लोग चालू करेंगे। एक आपको टाइम मिल जाएगा, थोड़ा सा कॉम्प्रीहेंड करिए, एंड देन वी विल डू इट वन मोर सेशन ऑन फ्राइडे में भी।
हाँ ठीक है, मेरा बॉम्बे जाने का प्रोग्राम अभी, वो आदमी तबीयत खराब हो गया।
और नाइस, देन संडे भी कर सकते हैं हम लोग, तो फ्राइडे एंड संडे दोनों कर लेंगे, तो
बट
आपका फिर
संडे तो
कंप्लीशन।
आपका ये है ना।
ओ यस, 4 o'clock है, तो हम लोग थोड़ा स्ट्रेच हो जाएगा। हाँ, नहीं करते संडे, नहीं करते फ्राइडे ही करते हैं, फिर डन है।
नो इश्यूज, मेरा
फ्राइडे
कोई
को
इशू नहीं।
शाम में 7 o'clock कर लें। लेट मी कंप्लीट रियल एस्टेट पार्ट एंड देन वी विल डू इट ऑन फ्राइडे। ठीक है? नाउ
ठीक ठीक।
द रियल एस्टेट एंड प्राइवेट मार्केट, they present a unique ESG integration opportunity. कैसे? And of course, they have a challenge as well compared to any public traded security. The first is real estate integrations today centers to material ESG factor specific to property asset. Environmental factors, which includes energy efficiency, can be easily implemented in real estate. Use of renewable energy, water conservation measures have a direct linkage. Waste management practices, because if I target real estate, I am targeting a human behavior. Okay, and eventually this also brings to proximity to environmental hazards and social factor as well. तो human का अगर life में better कर रहा हूँ, who are living this building, of course building environmental भी protect कर रही है, then it has a double impact. और यहाँ पे टेनेंट का रिलेशन भी मैं फिक्स कर सकता हूँ, कम्युनिटी एंगेजमेंट भी फिक्स कर सकता हूँ, एक्सेसिबिलिटी एंड इंक्लूजन, मतलब मैंने रैम्प बना दिया उस घर में, तो डिसेबल पर्सन आराम से जा सकता आ सकता है. यू रिमेंबर आवर सुप्रीम कोर्ट का जज इज फेसिंग दिस प्रॉब्लम टुडे. He doesn't have better doors. He doesn't have lift which can accommodate his children, a wheelchair, etc. He was crying. So those kind of issues can be addressed if you start promoting sustainability. तो मैं उनको रिक्वेस्ट करूंगा चंद्रचूड़ जी को कि आइए आप भी सपोर्ट करिए ग्रीन बिल्डिंग को. Eventually, GRI, ESB, and BREEAM, both of them, it gives you a recommendation, high recommendation that you should look after this society, inclusiveness, local job creation, and even affordability. Building themselves have a significant carbon footprint. है कि नहीं है? Across their life cycle in construction, from ongoing operation, energy use, use of land, waste management और building operation में भी बहुत emission होता है. Forget about the construction. Construction में सबसे highest है. So an integrated ESG view might examine that how to reduce the building carbon footprint through more efficient materials and have a system to lower the exposure of carbon prices or drive a gain from the energy efficiency. And here GRESB benchmark, which is the best benchmark to follow, global real estate sustainability benchmark, has become influential in the real estate ESG assessment. And they publish the report every 3 years. And the last report is 2023, which we are referring in this booklet. Now, it includes peer group companies, overall portfolio KPI performance, and aggregate environmental data on uses and efficiency of building as well. Here, they provide you a weighted average score covering management, policy, disclosure, risk opportunity, and environmental management system. While BREEAM certificate, which is a UK-based certification, they talked about, of course, BREEAM is short form of Building Research Establishment Environmental Assessment Methodology. They talk about how building can operate at ideal level. Of course, energy is focused.
आपका साउंड नहीं आ रहा है. हेलो.
Hello, can you
हाँ.
hear? Okay, good.
या.
चलिए बढ़िया है. तो मेरा बोलना ये था कि ब्रीम सर्टिफिकेशन, विच इज बिल्डिंग रिसर्च एस्टेब्लिशमेंट एनवायरमेंटल असेसमेंट मेथोलॉजी, इट प्रोवाइड्स आल्सो a structure formula, and it is an important framework for today. Now, private equity markets face a distinct and challenges for their ESG integration. What is that? The foremost challenge is lack of transparency. In private equity, nobody publishes a public report. So बहुत सारे clauses they miss. Regulatory oversight is not there, which is found in public market. कि इमीडिएट आपको रिपोर्ट करना है, कोई हजार्ड हुआ तो, कोई केस हुआ तो, बहुत टाइम तो रिपोर्टिंग की रिक्वायरमेंट ही नहीं है. सो स्मॉलर प्राइवेट कंपनी ऑफन फेस अ कैपेसिटी कंस्ट्रेंट एज वेल. दे डोंट हैव अ पीपल टीम. दे हैव ओनली वन पर्सन हु इज रनिंग एवरीथिंग from EHS to ESG to HR to other functions as well. So ESG reporting requirements are also mellowed down. The management here primarily focuses on the survival and growth. They are not here to protect the environment and protect the people and blah, blah, blah. Right? They treat this as a costly arrangement. So private equity investor in this case might also need to negotiate with founders who holds, of course, if you hold a majority stake, then only you can negotiate, right? And have those priority imbibed or infused in their reporting cycle. However, early stage ESG KPI setting creates a significant value creation opportunity. And again, that formula I told you, if the company is really bad, the score of ESG is really bad, valuation might be very low, but it has a huge potential of growth. That's what private investor has a challenge, but it can convert easily into opportunity. So investor can strat who are strategic in nature or long-term oriented, they can establish strong ESG matrices early in the company life cycle by putting their own money. Give extra 10% if those guys are ready to implement all the requirement. Some investor perform materiality analysis similar to public equity approaches using SASB framework or industry specific resources like British Private Equity and Venture Capital Association Responsible Investment Framework. बड़ा लंबा नाम है उसका, है ना? So always remember, strategic differentiation comes with ESG integration, which serves as key differentiator for any startup or company which are small in nature to their investor. इंस्टीट्यूशनल इन्वेस्टर को अगर आपको अट्रैक्ट करना है, सोवेनियर वेल्थ फंड को अट्रैक्ट करना है, पेंशन फंड को लेके आना है, फैमिली ऑफिस का पैसा अगर आपको चाहिए एंड यू आर इन प्राइवेट मार्केट, integrate ESG at earlier stage while you are negotiating with your investor. This way, you can manage the risk, identify and mitigate the risk as well, and which can impact the portfolio of that investor as well. Clear? And hence, he can create better value by investing in real estate, private equity markets, etc. With this, we end the session today. When we will come back, we will start with part 2 of our discussion, where we will be looking into advanced case study. Does that make sense?
ठीक. So we will ये on Friday.
फ्राइडे मिलते हैं 7 o'clock सेम टाइम,
Same
7
time.
to 8:30 इसको कंप्लीट करेंगे एंड देन 8 chapter we will start from Wednesday again. We will take another session on Wednesday or something like that. I will
हाँ
agree.
ठीक है.
Because next week थोड़ा सा टफ हो जाएगा. There will be one GHG program starting. So I will let you know for sure.
अच्छा अच्छा, आपका GHG प्रोग्राम भी
हाँ,
चालू
वो
हो रहा है.
14 से चालू हो रहा है, तो नेक्स्ट वीक थोड़ा सा टफ होगा, बट
मेरा
बिफोर
भी
दैट
एक
आई कैन डू वन सेशन.
मेरा भी एक 15-16 तारीख से एक लॉ का प्रोग्राम चालू होगा.
ओह क्या नाइस है, नाइस है. लॉ का कौन सा लॉ कर रहे हैं अभी? फिर आप तो लॉयर है ऑलरेडी.
नहीं नहीं, एक मैंने जस्ट बेसिकली एनवायरनमेंट लॉ का थोड़ा एक 1 मंथ का एक
रिफ्रेशर.
रिफ्रेशर कर ले रहा हूँ बिकॉज.
मेक सेंस. नाइस. चलिए करते
अच्छा
हैं,
एक
लेकिन
है.
वही फिर 14 के पहले एक सेशन करने की कोशिश करेंगे इन दैट वीक एज वेल. डन.
ठीक.
चलिए.
ओके. चलिए,
बाय.
गुड नाइट. बाय बाय.